Media reports state that the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, has claimed that the NRM has performed at 62% in implementing the manifesto of the NRM 2016 to 2021. This is in contrast to a report from the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances. The Government Assurance Committee that checks government assurances and pledges claims that government has not done well at delivering on a number of pledges. Which of these reports is to be believed? Are Ugandans receiving what the government promised it in 2016? This is Face the Citizens, and I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. Welcome to the show. In order to give us a good understanding of this discussion, we have on the panel Mr. James Tweheo. He is a member of the Central Executive Committee of the NRM. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gabriel, and good evening, the viewers.
We also have with us Mr. Job Kija. He is the director of an organization called IDEA. IDEA stands for Innovations for Democratic Engagement and Action. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gabriel, and good evening, listeners and viewers.
We also have the Honorable Hassan Kaps Fungaro. He is the Obongi County Member of Parliament, and he is the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation. Honorable, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, my brother Gabriel, and I salute all of you, members of staff of this media house, and the listeners. I salute all of you. Thank you for coming.
All right, we have an empty seat over there. We're expecting the Honorable Chris Baryomunsi. He is the minister in the State Minister for Housing. When he comes, we will introduce him. But you watching us at home by television, we are glad that you can be part of the show. And we have a live audience here, especially of young Ugandans that mainly from universities and elsewhere. And very soon we'll get questions from our audience. But let's start with you, Honorable Kaps Fungaro. Your report, the report of your committee that was released, happened to have come out at a time when government was also reporting on the way they've delivered on the NRM manifesto. And there are contradictions because government says they're at about 62% in delivery. And one of the things not understood is how exactly they come to that 62. And hopefully Mr. Tweheo will tell us. But your committee, how do you come to the conclusions that government has not delivered on the promises they made to Uganda?
Yeah, first of all, before I say much, I would like to speak to you in three perspectives. One, about the committee and why it is there, about Parliament and that committee. The Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation is an institution of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. And the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda is established by the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, Article number 77(1), which says there shall be a Parliament of Uganda. And again, the functions of the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda are provided for in the same Constitution, Article 79. You can get the details there. Now, the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda, among other things, does the following. One, the making of laws. That is legislation. Secondly, the approval of the national budget. Thirdly, monitoring and evaluation of government programs, how they are implemented, including accountability. Now, in the area of accountability, there are 4 core committees which are called the accountability committees. One is the Public Accounts Committee, the other one is COSASE, the other one is the Local Governments Accounts Committee, then the 4th one is the Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation. All these, by law, are chaired and must be chaired by people who are from the opposition. Why from the opposition? Because it is the opposition that has keen interest in the performance of the government and in the mistakes of the government.
All right, and now your
when
committee,
it comes to this committee, the Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation particularly is mandated under Article 100, under Rule 176, that is of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The functions of the Committee on Government Assurances are, one, to document the promises, assurances and undertakings made by the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, and the ministers on the floor of the House. And also at Section 7 of Rule 176 gives us the mandate to monitor the promises which are made in the constituencies.
All right. So
including now the manifesto. Of course, the manifesto is not presented on the floor of the House, but the manifesto is presented, the manifesto of the ruling party is presented to the people outside.
Yeah, it's a promise to the people.
It's a promise to the people. But why is it important? Why is the promise important? This is the context which must be understood first.
Would actually like to get to the results before we run out of time and go to other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
The results are, you've already presented this. And how did we get to that? We, as a committee, we documented the promises which were made on the floor of the House. And we selected some areas and some sectors to follow up the implementation of these promises. We focused on 38 of these promises where we went across the country to see the extent of the implementation. And the extent of the implementation is evaluated in this aspect. Number one, was the promise implemented? Yes or no? If implemented, was it done properly? The question of value for money. The other aspect is, was it completed on time? Time matters. Now, our results which are presented there, you see them. Out of 38 promises we evaluated in the energy sector, we found only that 10.5% were deemed to be implemented properly, as you have given to us according to our criteria. The criteria details are there. If you need them, we can give them to you. Then out of these, others were poorly implemented, and that represented like 20-something%, 26.3%.
26.3% not fully, implemented.
And 63.2% were broken promises, which means they were not implemented within the time frame within which they were expected to be implemented. Now, there was a problem even more with those which were not well implemented, in that there was wastage. I would like to bring to your attention, there were wastages of resources. For example, we went to Gulu. There was a place called Lalia, where a project under the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, was a promise to the people of Gulu, promise to the people of Acholi, that area, the people of northern Uganda, that we are going to chase away poverty from here. We are going to implement this project here. It was a fish fryers project, like a research unit, a research center, where people are going to breed fingerless for fish farming. Money was injected there. The project implementation started, but it was abandoned. The contractor disappeared.
All right. Okay.
And machines were abandoned in the field.
All right.
The same was seen in other projects, for example, in Buyende, an ice plant to support farmers, fish farmers, and traders to make ice so that people can preserve their fish and sell it properly. Started, but not completed, and abandoned there. So this is the nature of implementation which the NRM government claims they have implemented.
Now let's
even what they say they have implemented is poorly done.
Okay. Let's reconcile. Let's reconcile. You know, the Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation says 63.2% broken promises. When the Prime Minister is accounting to the country, he says, we have delivered 62%. What's going on? Because we have a total mathematics problem here.
You know, it is not a question of semantics. It is a question of reality, and we must look at what the NRM promised to deliver in 2016. 3 years down the road, how far have we gone? Yes, in one way I agree with him, because we are still moving along the way. We have moved 3 years, we have 2 years to go. So if a project is not complete, it does not mean that it will not be completed. I want also to agree with him
that... So the 63% we talk about are the ones that have been broken.
No.
The ones that are not complete
62%
are 26%.
To us, 62% of the promises are delivered, and only 38% we are yet to deliver.
Okay, what's the basis? How do you come up with
I'll
the 62?
give you an example. We promised that we shall improve on the energy sector. And nobody doubts now that even since we started, we haven't had a power breakdown.
Oh, here.
Even here,
No,
yes.
He's talking about.
Even here.
He's talking about
Now,
here.
look, we said
I
we
hope,
shall.
I hope I
wait a
won't
minute.
disappoint you. We're actually
Wait a
running
minute.
on generator.
Wait a minute. We started on Isimba
Yes.
Dam. We started on Karuma Dam. Okay? Yeah. We started on Isimba. We started on Karuma. We are yet to commission Karuma. But we have already commissioned 2 dams, power dams.
We moved the deadline of commissioning Karuma
We moved the
3
deadline
times,
for one reason. And as he said, we had a problem of quality assurance. At one point in Karuma, we must admit, at one point in Karuma, there were some cracks. And as a party, we took trouble to go and see what is the cause of cracks. And I want to tell this country and the public that yes, we identified there was a problem in implementation, and we had to rectify it. The reason why there is even a delay in commissioning. What was the problem? We discovered that in Karuma, technically, the technical people were supposed to have used iced water to mix the concrete. What was the reason? That's a technical reason. The reason was that this concrete is going to remain in water all its life long, 100 years. And it will be at a certain temperature. So if you mix it at a temperature that is not commensurate with the temperature which will keep it in the water, it will crack.
Okay, so
that was the first thing.
And that there is a,
now,
is a technicality.
That one alone,
but you see,
wait a minute. That one alone is the admission that we are working. Because if we are not, we wouldn't even have had the opportunity of identifying the gap, identifying the mistake, and correcting it. And once you correct a mistake, you will not finish in time. I can assure this country that Karuma now is 90% done. Anybody who wants, go there.
All right.
Go there, my brother Fungaru. You will see it done.
Yes, but they've gone there.
These are the realities. The only problem, wait a minute, the only problem is,
you see, the committee went there.
Karuma, the one you are talking
saying,
about, we went to Karuma.
The committee is
saying,
in our report
the
here.
committee,
Absolutely.
The committee, yes.
Me, I was in Karuma myself.
Yes.
Yeah, no. As a member of SEC, as we were going to, to Chobe,
just so
we
clear,
went there to get that correction done.
That's when you're going to Chobe. He passes there when he's going to his constituency.
Yes, that is why, wait a minute.
Yes.
Did he got all these other centers? That is why we are saying Karuma is on schedule. Okay. Only that there was a delay. It is now 98% finished and will be commissioned by close of this year.
All right.
So that delay alone is accepted.
All right.
And even if it is a home, there are some challenges that come in. But as we speak, the power that used to be 24 megawatts, it had reduced from 54 to 24, by the way, is now at what? At 600 megawatts.
Okay.
In this country, Uganda.
All right.
Talk about the road sector. Even look at the road sector. We shall come to that.
We're going to come to you.
Yes.
Mr. Kija, we don't seem to have a consensus here because everybody seems to be using their own measuring stick. So what should the public do?
I think for me, this actually just shows the problem that we have, the dilemma we are in. Because even from the way Mr. Tweheyo is talking, he tells you the NRM went there. I mean, what is NRM? What mandate does NRM have even in the implementation of Karuma?
It is the government in power.
The failure to do separation, the failure to draw the line between where the party should stop in terms of politicking. Because what you are doing here is right now is politicking.
Are you sure?
What the president has been doing, even on the floor of parliament through his ministers and the prime minister, is politicking. The 62% that you are presenting is politicking. Because, I mean, the committee in parliament has clearly told you that they picked out just 38 of the promises you made on the floor of parliament, not even what you made in the manifesto.
The manifesto.
Of the 38, only 3 have been implemented. I think we need to even pay attention to those. No, they are 3.8. 3.8. If I get 10%,
yes.
Okay, and I put it back in actual promises, it is only 3.8,
yeah.
Okay, that have been implemented.
They rounded off to 4.
So they rounded off to 4. Okay,
Yeah.
we can give them 4. But still, I think 4 is not good enough. I mean, as a student, if I got 10% either in class, in any paper, I would clearly be a failure. So if I don't know whether it would be F9 or I would even be ungraded if it was UNEB.
So Job,
so for me,
how should the citizen measure whether government is delivering on the promises it makes?
Yeah, so basically what needs to be done by citizens, I think, is to pay keen attention on whatever is going on practical on the ground. The process I think Honorable Fungaru engaged in is something that we used to do as civil society a while back when we were implementing the Citizens Manifesto, looking at the promises that have been made in the manifesto, but also going down and asking the question, what exactly has been implemented? And so I think given room, beyond the politicking, it would be interesting for citizens to pay keen attention and follow up the implementation of all these promises that have been made. I know for a fact, I think there's a report which was produced, I think, by some members of the opposition in Parliament, that we are tracking all the promises that had been made.
It was actually the same committee, but in the 9th Parliament.
In the 9th Parliament.
Yeah.
And I think about 500 promises were actually broken promises
Adding
that had been made by the president.
Almost 30 trillion.
So, yeah, so I think citizens have to take keen interest in these promises that the president makes, the pronouncements that he makes in campaign rallies, when he moves across the country at barrios and he promises so many things. They need to actually systematically follow this through. Right. And at the end of the day, the good thing is elections are around the corner. We need to actually be reminding him that when you were here last, you promised us ABCD. There are about 100 promises that you've made to us, right, and you are scoring either 0 or 3%.
Okay. We need to take a break at this point, but like Job Kija said, the citizens have to ask the tough questions. When we come back from the break, the citizens will ask the tough questions. Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on Face the Citizens. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel, and today we're looking at the state of delivery on government promises. The Committee on Government Assurances submitted their report on how government is doing. Government is accounting to the country currently in what they call Manifesto Week, and there's a discrepancy in the figures. Government says 62% is their performance. The committee from Parliament says 63% is what government has failed to deliver. How do we reach a consensus here? Our panelists, Mr. Job Kija, director of an organization called IDEA, Mr. James Tweheyo, a member of the Central Executive Committee of the NRM, and the Honorable Caps Fungaru, the chairperson of the Committee of Government Assurances and Implementation. And representing the people of Uganda is an audience right in front of me, and we'll take your questions right now.
The question goes to Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Tweheyo?
Yeah, Mr. Tweheyo. The government promised to increase the primary teacher's salary 100% in 2011, but pledge had not been done. So he shall explain why.
Okay.
And the government need to improve quality education in the country, but there is still big challenge.
Okay. Madam, was that question from you or from your neighbor? Okay, I will just have to explain that her neighbor is a person living with a disability. He's not able to speak, so he wrote the question and she voiced the question for him. Thank you very much. His name, please?
Odeke Alan.
Okay, so that question is from
University.
Odeke Alan from Chambogo University.
I'm by the name Akelo Immaculate from
Yes,
Makerere University. This question will go to Mr. Twareba James.
Mr. Tweheyo, James.
Yes. You
He
have
seems to be a favorite for people today. Yes, go ahead.
yes, indeed. He talked about Karumba Dam, whereby he said 98% has been done. And yet, I remember there was this saying, the Gulu people were going to benefit with the electricity. But up to now, there is problem of electricity all the time. And even people have gone to the street walking naked. And yet up to now, that thing has not yet been done. When are we going to receive the electricity?
All right. Thank you very much, Akelo.
Thank you so much. My name is Arab Justin. Mine is just a comment. And I think what I can say about people who always come to represent NRM in declaring or giving their report just so good at giving lies than giving the fact on the ground. And it's a pity that our member of parliament here is still claiming and saying they have really achieved 62% and really backing up the prime minister. And yet the fact on the ground is clear. And surely, even for those of us who come from the north, we always pass via and we'll see the Karuma Dam. If he says that we have to go and look at it, surely the security there and the policy around. By the way,
All right.
even some of the MPs
All right,
cannot
Mr.
even
Tweheo,
really go
Mr.
to
Tweheo
see.
will
Yeah.
respond to that. And just to
Yeah.
clarify, it was the Prime Minister who gave, you know, the scorecard of how the government had performed.
Yes, by names, Oroka Kenneth
Yes,
from
Oloka.
Alliance for New Transformation, ANT.
Oh, ANT has members already?
Yes, we are here.
Oh, okay, yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I want to start like this. Only 10% of the population in rural areas access power, according to the Rural Electrification Agency. Uganda ranks among the top 10 countries to be paying the highest electricity bills. Besides the Karuma 600 megawatts project, which had to be completed in 60 months, there still hangs in balance the Kabale mini hydropower station pledge, which is still in talks. So I'm asking Mr. Chairman, what method did you use to say that the electricity is never off in
All right.
Uganda?
Okay.
Another question.
Yes.
Yes, another question. It says that besides the many pledges by the president and his government to end poverty in Uganda, whereby a lot of programs, IGI, YLP, the Women Entrepreneurship Scheme, the NADS, SAGE, and others, still Uganda, according to the Economic Focus, in partnership with Conrad Murray organization, Uganda ranks third behind DRC and Mozambique to be the poorest country in the world, not in Africa and not in East Africa, but in the world. So what measure did you use to come up with the progress of 62%?
All right. Let's have responses to those questions. Mr. Tweheo, it seems like majority of the questions seem to be coming to you.
I like that. Now, the country should know that there is a difference between construction, between power production, between power distribution. Karuma Dam is at 98% in construction. When the other 2% is done, power will be commissioned. At the moment, what is happening alongside the construction, the distribution is going on constructing the power lines. And everybody must admit you have seen these metallic shining power lines being constructed. By the way, those power lines may not have got power yet. They're not yet powered because the Karuma Dam is not yet completed. That one should be clearly understood.
All right. Okay.
So why do you claim that you have performed if it is not?
So,
But Iago,
Mr.
Isimba, and others
Precisely.
are on course. Let's
Mr.
look at
Mr.
the
Tweheo.
reality of the matter.
Mr. Tweheo,
And we should not deny,
so let us understand.
Yes.
So when you say that is it sub-county?
Yes.
Has electricity now?
Not every sub-county, but most sub-counties.
Because
Power goes, wait a minute.
Actually, when government was giving the report, we just stated only 2 that did not have, and you said the rest the rest have.
No, I think that's erratic. Let's be realistic. We have a plan of distributing power from the source to every sub-county headquarters. Okay. Now, I don't want people to misconstrue it that when power goes to the sub-county headquarters, it goes into your house. Not at all. Not at all. There are some who are unable to tap that power. No, it is not only expensive. It is. I will come to that expense. But at least the electricity lines can move to most
Okay, so
sub-county
if
headquarters.
I may ask, so
in this
what's the
country.
point
So
of getting the
62%.
electricity
Listen
to
again.
the sub-county headquarters, but not to the people around the
Listen
sub-county
again.
headquarters?
Listen again. 62% of the distribution is done.
Okay.
But
62%, you seem to
people
like this number.
Yes, I want people to differentiate. To differentiate between poverty and wealth. Yes. Let me tell you, between poverty and development. When you move on a tarmac road from here to Nimule, that is development. But you can move 1 foot, only 1 foot from the tarmac, and you enter into absolute poverty.
All right.
So wait a minute. That development can be a stimuli for creation of wealth. When we talk of Soroti Fruit Factory, let me use Soroti Fruit Factory, which is well known. Soroti Fruit Factory delayed, and the reasons are also known. He can explain as a person of quality assurance. Soroti Fruit Factory was supposed to be a factory that would collect all the fruits, the citrus, from people in Eastern who are growing them. Everybody must admit that as we speak now, oranges are rotting in people's gardens. But the first element was, can we use wealth creation to get these people to grow oranges? They have grown. Can we then now put a factory which would collect these oranges?
So it was grow the oranges first, then we figure out what to use them for?
You can't put money, wait a minute, you can't put money in a factory to make it redundant.
All right.
And so the factory moved, no, wait a minute. Things must be done in a sequential manner.
Okay.
And this is very clear. The last one is, yes, there is still poverty in homes. There is still poverty in society, granted. But the government has put in place plans for poverty alleviation by putting the youth fund, the elders fund. Yes, SAGE. Okay. Although SAGE is not rolled fully to every district in Uganda. There were samples that were taken. I'll give an example. Part of Northern, yes. Part of Northern, they have.
All right.
Samples in Western, only one district, Shema, took it. And that is going to be rolled on. And we must say, where we pledged we shall get this in the 33 districts.
All right.
Tell me the district that has not received that.
Let's first hear from Honorable Fungaro.
Yes.
One of the things that the government boasts about is actually connecting the country by road. They've managed to do many roads. What from your study, from your investigation, did you find in relation to roads? Because surely from what we see, we'd expect to see high results there.
First, before the road, let me knock out this point of electricity. When the president goes and promises people electricity, that I will connect your area to electricity, there are 3 areas which at the back of a technical person he should have performed in. One, he should have generated that electricity. Because you cannot promise to bring electricity without generating it. So the issue of generating, distribution, transmission, and the actual electricity in the wire. Wherever we have gone, yeah, you see, wherever we have gone and they claim to have fulfill the promise of bringing electricity, what we find there are wires only.
but at least wires are there.
But did the president promise to bring
says
wires?
At least wires are there.
The promise was not about bringing wires and poles. It is to bring electricity and adequate and stable electricity. For example, people of northern Uganda were told, President Museveni used to say it in a funny way, no, you people, relax. Your problem of power will be solved. We are building Karuma. Karuma, your problems will be finished.
Yes.
People of West Nile, people of Moyo were told. But do you know what? Moyo is my district. They extended the power line from the Owen Falls Dam via Lira Gulu, Ajumane. You can see wires, but there is no power. You cannot rely on what he promised that now he has brought power here, you can set up a factory. Even a woman running a saloon, which needs electricity, a woman running a small kiosk, which needs maybe a fridge to cool down just one bottle of water, will get problems. So what have you delivered? Oh. Wires only. So that one is not performing. Yeah? So people of Uganda are the ones to do the evaluation. Okay. You cannot have a student sit for exams and mark himself. NRM is the one that promised, and then the Prime Minister, who is from NRM, leader of government, is the one marking.
Job.
That's a problem.
Are the people of Uganda, are the people empowered enough to be the ones marking the government, to know whether government has performed, and do they even care whether government is performing?
So I'll say 2 things, Gabriel. First of all, following on the point that Honorable Fungaro has been making, and the question you asked him earlier, which he has not responded to, of roads. One of the challenges that we have at the moment with this government is creation of white elephants. So if you look at the wires that Honorable Fungaro is talking about that do not have electricity in them, those are white elephants.
You go and touch
If you look at roads, if you look at roads that have been constructed, last weekend, I was in Hoima. I decided to drive up to the lake, Lake Albert, using the new oil road. I think the first oil road, Kaiso-Tonya. I drove all the way to the lake and came back. And I can assure you that all the way to the lake, I did not see any vehicle, and even returning, I did not see any vehicle.
I know, but they promised the road, and the road is there.
Yeah, the road is there. The road is there. But you see, the promise that we are going to build a road for you and it is going to eliminate poverty in this area, I think was just a lie. Because all I can see on both sides of the road is grass-thatched houses. Many of the people have been evicted off their land because it has been grabbed by the colleagues of Tueheyo in government. And clearly you can see that by the time I think we've been given a lifespan of about 30 years for us to drill this oil and make good use of it. By the time that oil gets finished from the ground in Hoima, in Kaiso and Tonya, you realize that actually you'll either still be seeing grass-thatched houses or all the people there will have died because of the pollution that is going to come up as an offshoot of the oil extraction, or even just taken off because many of them have already been evicted. And then secondly, on the question of whether Ugandans are empowered enough.
Job, can we pick up on whether Ugandans are empowered when we come back from the break? Because it's time to take a break. But please don't take Mr. Tueheyo seriously. Don't touch those power lines. They may kill you. Let's go for a break. Welcome back from the break. We're glad that you can stay with us here on Face the Citizens. I'm your host, Igoma Gabriel, and I have a panel and a full audience discussing the issue of government pledges. How has government performed on the promises it has made to Ugandans? On the panel, Mr. James Tueheyo. He is a member of the Central Executive Committee of the NRM. We have Mr. Job Kija. He is the director of an organization called IDEA, that's Innovation for Democratic Engagement and Action. And then the Honorable Caps Fungaro, who is Obogi County Member of Parliament, but also the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances. Before we went for the break, Job was going to respond to a question in relation to whether Ugandans are empowered enough to actually, assess the government.
Yeah, so on the question of empowerment, I think there are two things. First of all, there's been a lot of work that has been done through different civil society organizations to ensure that citizens are civically competent, they are civically conscious, and that they can meaningfully engage with government on the different promises that it makes. And I think for those of you that have participated in processes like Citizens Manifesto and other different civic education activities that are organized by civil society organizations, you would have seen that there's been some effort to try and engage. But on the other hand, you will find that there's been a blockade in terms of ensuring that citizens are civically conscious because of the legal framework that has been put in place. So if you look at the legal regime even for the existence of civil society, or even for the operations of civil society in Uganda. On the one hand, you have the Constitution of Uganda, which gives citizens and their organizations the power to engage, to associate, gives them the freedom to associate, freedom to assemble, etc. But on the other, you have a law like the Public Order Management Act, which even in its already bad shape, it is actually being implemented badly. And I think for those of you that have been following the discussions between IPOD and Prime Minister and the police, you realize that almost on a weekly basis, the Prime Minister has been issuing an ultimatum on the implementation of POMA. But because of impunity, the security forces have decided to disregard the ultimatums that are being given by IPOD and the Prime Minister, and they have continued to harass citizens that are organizing in different ways to make sure that they're able to make government to account. You've seen how even people from the opposition, almost on a weekly basis, Dr. Kiza Besigye is either picked off a radio station, picked out of a radio station, I don't know using what law, or arrested. So you have that kind of divide, which yes, on the one hand you have citizens that have received this empowerment through several platforms, but on the other, they cannot exercise that empowerment because of the legal framework that does not allow them to associate, to assemble, or to even ask hard questions.
All right, something else that's confusing. When we hear something like government has not delivered, 63%, and yet we go to an election and that government is re-elected, where is the mismatch?
Come here.
So I think
I come where?
so let me first respond to that. Let me respond to that and Honorable Fungaro also. And Honorable
Fungaro, we're going to come
also
to
responds.
Yes. Very
I
quickly.
think for me, one of the biggest lies that has been told to Ugandans and the world is that elections, that we have democracy.
Okay, so
in this country.
you don't believe that those are the results of the elections?
Of course not.
All right. Let's have Honorable Fungaro, who is from the opposition, and those same elections bring him to parliament.
Yes, that's right. Listen to me. Wherever we go as a committee, what we do to the people is to tell them how a promise is connected to the committee and to them. And our work as a committee is incomplete without the people. Here is a situation where a promise is made, and on the basis of that promise, you said, okay, we are going to give you our vote. And you gave the people, you gave the president your vote. Now, he listen first. He took your vote and he went to power, but the issue of implementation, time ticks, and no implementation is done. It goes to another round of election. Like right now, people are preparing for another election. President Museveni comes to your place like he's going to Adjumani now, to my district, Adjumani, Mundeni Moyo. He promised to construct the road from Atiak to Adjumani to Moyo to the border of Uganda with South Sudan. All the elections of the past were given on the basis of that same promise. It has not been delivered. Now, you people of Uganda, particularly people of Adjumani, do you call yourself wise if you vote for the president again even after he has failed to implement? This is the problem. The problem is the citizens.
And you,
okay, there was a promise we found.
All right.
I give you this example. Last on this one. This last one. We went to Sebei region, a district called Kapchora, where we had the major meeting. The other districts were Queen and then Bokwa. A promise was made in 1986 to tarmac the road from Kapchora to Swam, the Uganda-Kenya border. From 1986 to 2019, how many years down the road? The road has not been implemented. And yet the people there were voting 99% for NRM and for President Museveni. All the MPs there are NRM. So we ask the people, we ask the people, do you blame us or you blame yourselves? Because how do you go ahead to vote for a government that deceived you? How do you go ahead to vote for a party that deceived you? So the problem is with the citizens themselves. When the president comes, they dance, they are given envelopes. The promise was not for envelopes.
Okay.
So the promise was a road. So the people must ask.
Just hold on. And that's where the confusion comes from. Because
you promised not an envelope, you promised a road. Why do you bring an envelope? Then
the question is, do the people even care if the government delivers?
That's their problem. The problem is with the people. You know the president has not delivered.
Okay.
And why do you go ahead to give him votes?
We need to take more questions. I'm
Agaba Nelson.
Yes, Agaba.
A student at Uganda Christian University, Kampala campus, and from the Alliance, ANT, the new party. We have seen in 2016, that was in October, where actually one of the report was brought into on the table of Parliament, and it was dismissed by the Deputy Speaker Jacob Olanya, that for it to be discussed, it needs to be seconded by the head of government business, and that is the Prime Minister. So the question is, why does the government, need not to be checked by the Parliament?
Okay, all right.
My name is Paul.
Yes,
Adoko.
Paul.
The idea that a government is supposed to be answerable to its people and follow up promptly on its election manifesto, how it's delivered for fear of losing the next election, is an idea for a democratic setting. It's an idea for countries like South Africa, Namibia, Britain, and the likes. It is not an idea for Uganda.
What's the Ugandan idea?
The Ugandan situation is a government that does not derive its mandate from the people. It is a government that overthrew a legitimate government. Okay? So such a government will not deliver on its election promises.
Thank you so much, moderator and the panelists. My name is Alex, and for starters, I just would like to thank the member of NEC from the NRM, Mr. Tweheyo James, for appearing on the panel. And for starters, again, I want to thank the NRM government for the little they have done. I'm sure they have contributed something to our country. We shall build on from there if they will accept to transition power peacefully and democratically.
All right.
On the other way, I cannot really believe, for even a small extent, to the 62% they have accorded to themselves, like a student who would mark himself and expect him to fail, none, they cannot accept to fail. A country that is going to pay 10.6 trillion shillings this coming year as loan servicing, and you still convince us that we are going to achieve by 2020 a middle income country. That is, I think, not achievable.
All right.
3 years down the road,
Alex, we're out of
Mr.
time.
Moderator, I would request that you let me say this.
But we're out of time.
I would like to bring to the attention of Mr. James Tweheyo one of the concerns. We are a representation of the youth in this country, seated here, 78% of this country being under the age of 35 years. We make a representation. The president has been singing a song, and the NRM members singing a song of establishment of factories. It is my deep felt-hearted concern for you to go and research the factories we establish for the investors who come to Uganda. How much do they pay our citizens who work there? Majority who work there are the youth. I have taken some concern to know how much they earn. A day they earn around 6,000. Can somebody live on that amount of money? You have refused the minimum wage bill to come on the table, on the floor of parliament, and you've left our Ugandans to suffer on a daily basis.
Alex.
It is very unfair.
My question goes to Honorable MP.
Yes, please.
Are you members of parliament wise for our border to be closed and our president keeps quiet, you also keep quiet?
Okay.
Is
that the Uganda, Rwanda?
The businesses are down.
Okay.
The motorcycles are down. And you people, you criticize the government. This is the burning issue in Kisoro.
All right.
Another one. Me, myself, I'm physically disabled. According to Disability Act Uganda 2006, even these mad people you see in the street of Kampala, they are mad. My question goes to you, sir. Mr. James, these madmen should be rehabilitated. These people you see in Kampala. You cannot say that you're improving the pressure, when people with disabilities are still begging in the streets of Kampala. Every country they do beg, but in Uganda, how are you begging?
Okay.
With the torn clothes?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I see there are many hands that are still up, but we're out of time. Honorable Fungaro, I'll just allow you to, just 1 minute for you to respond to a question quickly, but also to give your closing remark.
Okay. Thank you very much, my brother. First of all, we debated seriously on the matter of the conflict or the tension between Uganda and Rwanda, which has been brought to light by the closure of the border. This issue was extensively debated on the floor. Even the ministers of security, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Internal Affairs, they were brought on the floor to answer our questions. So we did not keep quiet.
Okay.
Secondly, on the issue of this debate, we as a committee, we believe, one, that a promise is a debt. It must be paid. A debt must be paid.
Okay.
And lies, our committee mainly supervises or does oversight on what is called political deception. We don't want the citizens to be deceived and taken for granted.
Okay.
Any kind of lies is a sin. We are in the month of Ramadan. For you Muslims, you must know, sin takes you to hell. So NRM must be ready to face the hellfire on the day of judgment. Because of their lies.
All right, let's go to
Lastly, citizens must know that all in all, you are the people who are said to be possessing the power, that all power belongs to the people. They claim so. Why don't you claim your power for real?
Okay.
Why
All
do
right.
you leave your power to somebody?
Let's go to Mr. Tweheo. Mr. Tweheo, you've been condemned to hell.
I will peruse through all this very quickly. One, it is true that a number of development projects are running on credit. But the citizen, yes, on loans. Why?
Very quickly, because we're out of time,
our capacity to generate funds has not reached such a level to match with the development requirements for this country. And we must accept that. But also we must note, we must note that credit is given to a person who is credit worth. Number two, the minimum wage, that one is sorted, it is done. Number three, the Kisoro issue is a matter which he has answered. But then we must also admit that for a country to move forward, there are some basics, standard basics that need to be done. You are talking of the minimum payment to a worker, but at least it is minimum to a worker who is working. There is a time when we had only 400 factories in this country. We have 4,000 factories at the moment. We have been able for the first time.
I hope you're not saying that it doesn't matter what people are paid.
No, it matters. It certainly matters. I'm one of those who would want this country to have the minimum wage tagged.
Okay.
And I have been an advocate for that.
All right.
But you know, you can't reach the minimum wage before you even have the wage. Now, let's look at this. Absolutely. Let's look at this. We have now over 4,000 factories in this country, and for the first time in the history of this country, we have managed till the balance of trade between the neighboring countries, Kenya and Uganda.
All right.
The volume of money that used to go to Kenya to purchase things is now less than the volume of money that is. So it should be credit, honestly, for anybody who understands the fundamentals of economics.
All right. Unfortunately, we now have to come Mr. Kija because we're out of time. Mr. Kija?
Yeah, I want to say that I'm a bit surprised by Honorable Fungaro for putting the blame on citizens and accusing them of voting in this government time and again, yet you know very well that in the last election where you really participated, that from Obongi, actually, you were just given your constituency as a gift, otherwise it would also have been rigged. Now, for those of us that have been monitoring elections in this country and were in Nambole in 2016, we know that there was no tallying of votes. It was just a percentage that was given, and so the lie that the government has been receiving votes from the people of Buko, I think is actually an insult on them.
All right.
So
on government delivery.
Now, on government delivery.
And your final word.
On government delivery, and my final word, I think for me, this government has been in power for over 33 years. They are now in their 34th year. Whatever they have not delivered in those 34 years, they will not deliver. Now, young people, I think we are the majority, 78% of us, we have the power within us to actually liberate ourselves. Do not expect to get liberation from people that have failed to deliver for 34 years. You need to take the bull by the horns. Like one of the MPs, one of the MPs says, I think clearly that's what you should do. Mobilize yourselves, take over leadership. That is precisely what we need to do.
All right, we have to leave it here. But when the government makes a promise, it is key that you follow up on that promise. Otherwise, if the government does not deliver, how will you be empowered to ensure that the government next time delivers on the promises it makes to you? Thank you for being a part of the show tonight, and thank you to our panel and our audience. Until next time, goodbye.